When do you use injured spouse relief? Hi, my name is Jewell and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll explain when to use injured spouse relief and how it works. I'll also review the form used to file Form 8379, so be sure to watch to the end. A quick word on the difference between injured spouse relief and innocent spouse. Injured spouse relief is used in tax preparation to protect the refund of the injured spouse. Innocent spouse is used in tax resolution to protect the assets and the future income of the innocent spouse. I'll cover more on innocent spouse in another video. Now let's just get back to protecting your refund. An injured spouse is someone who files a married filing joint tax return, whereas the refund has or will be applied to the other spouse's tax debt. It can also include other types of debt, such as unemployment compensation repayment, child support, or student loan. Form 8379 is filed by the injured spouse with the jointly filed tax return when the refund is expected to apply to the past due obligation of the debtor spouse. By filing Form 8379, the injured spouse may be able to get back his or her share of the joint refund. If you live in a community property state, the rules are a little different. The IRS applies that state's community property laws to the allocation. You can file Form 8379 with your joint tax return or amended joint tax return, 1040X. Or you can file the form afterwards by itself. Even if you e-filed your married filing joint tax return, you must mail in Form 8379. You could file your tax return by paper and include 8379. If this information has value to you, please like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's take a look at Form 8379. Okay, let's review Form 8379. Now, 8379 is typically filled out by the injured spouse. It's called Injured Spouse Allocation. Part 1, the injured spouse is the one answering these questions. 9 questions, yes or no answers with additional instructions. And some of them will say, stop here, do not file this form, you're not the injured spouse. We'll scroll on down. Let's pretend we got all these questions answered. Part 2, information about the joint tax return for which this form is filed. Question number 10, there's an area here where both spouses fill it out, and there's a checkbox at the end which identifies the injured spouse. Oops, all right, there we go. And a couple more questions identifying where the injured spouse might want the refund sent. Now, section 3 is allocation between spouses on the joint return. This is where all the action is. So we got 3 columns here. Column A is the amount shown on the joint return. Column B is the amounts allocated to the injured spouse, and column C are the amounts allocated to the other spouse. This first column are the specific items. Now, these represent categories that would be on the return. Line 13, income reported on forms W-2, Section A. Section B, all other income. 14 are adjustments to income. Line 15 is the standard or itemized deduction, depending on what's used. Number of exemptions, line 16. For now, this is the dependent. So the kids or whoever's claimed as a dependent So at some point, there'll be some choices made on who are to claim the dependents. Now, credits will be allocated according to who's claiming the credit, whether the spouse or the injured spouse or the other spouse. Do not include any earned income credit. The IRS will calculate that portion based on what's on the joint return. Other taxes, line 18. Well, this pertains to other taxes such as self-employment tax. There's also the penalty for early withdrawal on retirement income, for instance. Okay, line 19 is, of course, the income tax that was withheld from your W-2. And 20 is payments. So payments are payments sent in, the estimated payments, any other payments made during the year. Now, this is a paper form that's filed separately or together with the joint tax return. Now, I want to show you real quick what is on the instructions. The instructions here we'll find for people who live in community property states. This is page 2 of the instructions of Form 8379. And right here, you see the revenue rulings. And this is what the IRS uses to allocate people who reside in those states. And those community property states right here: Arizona, Wisconsin, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Washington, and Texas. Okay, that ends our review. Let me mention allocation about QBI. QBI is qualified business income and is a deduction that can be used by self-employed people and business owners. If both spouses have QBI, the IRS will generally allocate the QBI deduction as a percentage on each spouse's QBI. Generally, if you file 8379 with the joint tax return, the time needed to process is about 14 weeks. 11 weeks if filed electronically. If you file Form 8379 after the joint return has been filed, the time needed then is about 8 weeks. You must file Form 8379 for each year that you meet this condition and you want your portion of any offset refunded. There's a deadline too. You must file Form 8379 within 3 years of the due date of the original return, including extensions, or within 2 years of the date the tax was paid with the offset. And now the proverb. This is Spanish origin. Since we cannot get what we like, let us like what we can get. For more information on taxes, or if you need a tax professional, visit my website in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.